Hello, as always, thank you for watching. I'm Nathan, and this is just a quick update before Blue Moon versus Abzan Company gets started, which I actually recorded maybe a week ago, on some upcoming changes to my videos. I'm going to do a league through the week, Monday through Friday. That'll be all 5 rounds. And then Saturday, I'm going to do, I'll probably talk about it at least in short, maybe talk about some things I could have done different or maybe what I did right. I would love to be able to have really cool video segment where I copy and paste, segments of the videos and have this nice how the league was won or something like that, or how the league was lost. Just what did we do right, what did we do bad? But that could get really time intensive, so I don't want to promise that. But if I can find a way to do it without spending a million hours on it, maybe I will. But at the very least, I think we'll talk about it. Not just that, I do want to bring you guys played Magic content every single day, so there'll be something else on Saturday. But just look forward to the leagues Monday through Friday. So what you're going to get today is going to be a Blue Moon match, and this should be when you're watching this. If you're watching this when it comes out, it'll be Friday. There'll be another Blue Moon match on Saturday, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do Sunday yet. And then I'm going to start which again, it was like a week ago, but the Jeskai Geist League for that week. So, okay, guys, let's watch Blue Moon. See you soon. Hi friends, my name is Nathan, and today I want to take another look at Blue Moon. Now, if you're a fan of my channel, then you'll know that last time I piloted this deck, it was to a disappointing 1-4 finish. The only deck I managed to beat was actually the Mirror, and I think part of that is because we played Eldrazi a couple of times, and that matchup is difficult for any fair deck. And also, I'm inexperienced with the deck. My play was pretty slow, and it took me a long time to talk about and think through things to try and find the optimal lines. That being said, I don't think that this is the deck to beat the Eldrazi decks. Blood Moon reminded me in some ways of Geist of Taint Traft, and what I mean is, if you're behind, Geist isn't necessarily going to save you, and neither is Blood Moon. The thing about the Eldrazi decks is they're able to develop their board quickly enough with such impactful creatures that playing a Blood Moon is in some ways just a death sentence, because the life loss that you may have to endure in order to get it in play is so high that they'll kill you. And it's no guarantee that because of the removal offered by red that you're even going to be able to clean the board up once you play Blood Moon. It's not like you can play Blood Moon into Supreme Verdict and feel okay about the world. You may be facing down some truly, gigantic bodies that Roast may or may not be able to kill. So, not only that, but you're dependent on having Roast. And the thing is, you can't run a lot of Roasts because you just you can wreck other matchups. I did some more testing last night, and one spell that I was kind of pleasantly pleased with was Burst Lightning. Now, one difference between the list that I'm going to run versus the list that Jason Chung talked about in his Modern article, his tournament report, was this is a third Burst Lightning. And there is a Roast in the sideboard, and I felt like I just wanted more access to that card. So I swapped out one of the Burst Lightning for a Roast. Now, if you watched my videos, you'll also remember that I said I thought Wormcoil Engine might be an alternative to Batterskull, since it traded basically with every single Eldrazi. And interestingly enough, he actually thought the same thing. Now, he also proposed a Grixis list. And in the Grixis deck, he plays Colligan's Command, which is kind of interesting because you can bring back a Wormcoil Engine. I could build that deck. I just opted not to because I feel like Blood Moon is a lot less good in a 3-color deck. I'm not saying it's not that deck's better or worse. I just feel like Blood Moon is definitely worse in a 3-color deck than it is in a 2-color deck. And I still want to just keep experimenting and playing with the straight blue-red version. Another card that he added that I hadn't really considered, even though it's usually a mainstay in the Blue Moon list, is Vidalcan Shackles. Excuse me. Kind of allergies are bothering me today. Vidalcan Shackles could be really good in the Eldrazi matchup, if not a bit slow. But being able to take a large Eldrazi if you have enough islands in play could seriously hamper their plans. And outside of that, everything else is kind of standard. He did initially have 3 remands and 3 mana leaks, but he had to make room for shackles, and he proposed 3 remands over, say, like 3 leaks in a remand. And at first, I wasn't really clear why that was, and luckily enough, somebody asked in the comments, and what he said is there's definitely a tempo element to this deck. You don't need to answer every threat if you're going to play a Blood Moon and then prevent them from resolving those threats. And so his opinion is that Remand is actually just better at doing that. And also because there's some Cavern of Souls running around, at least Remand can cycle even if they're casting an Eldrazi with a Cavern, whereas Leak is basically completely dead. And I agree with that. Now there is something... So there's 2 other cards that I had been considering that I didn't see him mention I wanted to talk about. And one of them I think I've kind of dismissed, but the other one I think still could be a possibility, and that's Deprive and Blasphemous Act. Now I think Deprive is kind of interesting because if you're going to run it as Deprive is not a counter spell that you want to run like 4 of, because you don't want to pick up your lands. But the interesting thing is because this deck runs so many like pain-free ways to get mana into play, a 1 of Deprive late game could be really good. You could pick up that island at very little cost, and have just a counter spell that's good early, it's good late, and you can put an island back into play. So that's something to consider. The other thing was Blasphemous Act, and I've kind of dismissed this. You know, the reason is, and maybe this is actually a reason to play it. I'm not sure. But in order for it to be good, you kind of need to be losing. In order for this to be good against Eldrazi, you're probably facing lethal the next turn or in 2 turns. Otherwise, if that's not the case, I don't know that the card is really castable, because... You know, they have to have 4. If they have 4 creatures in play, that means it still costs 5, and I think that might just be too slow. You know, it might be different if the Eldrazi deck was some kind of mass token generation deck, and Blasphemous Act might be inexpensive. But the thing is, there's going to be scenarios where what you're dying to is like a single world breaker, and it's just not feasible that you're going to be able to afford to cast this. So it's basically... It's really only good in the worst of situations. And in the worst of situation, it might be exactly what you want, but you don't also want to be drawing like a dead card in other situations. So I don't think Blasphemous Act is going to be able to make the cut. Deprive, I do think is interesting, but I think I just kind of want to run the list as he had proposed it. He already had my changes of including the Wormcoil engines. And I just, in general, really like this control deck as a control deck. It just runs so many sweet control cards, and yeah, I mean, I think the deck is sweet, even if I'm not the best at piloting it. So all that being said, let's play a quick game. Okay, here we are. I thought that I was gonna play a league, and then saw that I was actually still in a league with this like Jeskai Planeswalker-y control deck that I saw Shaheen Sarani post, and I kind of wanted to fool around with. So we're just in a 2-man. So that means that we could play against anything. I mean, I guess we could always play against anything, but I feel like in 2-man, sometimes you either play against only degenerate decks or against wacky stuff. So I think we're keeping this hand. We have a Bolt, we have an early counterspell, a Blood Moon, so seems relatively straightforward. All right. I think the right thing to do is, obviously this gives him a mana thing that we don't really want him to have. So I think we just turn 1 Mountain and bolt it. And it's too bad we're not on the play, because Mana Leak into... and I think we still bolt it. We drew this spell snare, so I was almost having second thoughts. But obviously it's better to go like be on the play and go bolt into Leak into Blood Moon, but that's not going to happen. Okay, so I think now things are probably going to be fantastic. We're either going to have a spell snare or a Mana Leak for whatever he plays, and then we're going to get a island and play this Blood Moon. So to that, I think we probably just spell snare. Leak still has the potential to be good later, so we'll do that. And this will give us access to 2 islands. Our opponent is probably going to be sad. So now we have our 5-for-1 control card in place. Okay, not surprising that our opponent conceded there. So I'm going to guess this is some kind of Melira deck based on the creatures that we saw. So let's see, what do we want there? I think Blood Moon is... I think Blood Moon's probably fine. I think there's a chance that it's not as good because they have access to a lot of mana generating creatures, and now they are certainly going to be prioritizing basics. So have to ask ourselves if we're still on the Blood Moon plan. Let's look at what we have to bring in. So I know I want Anger of the Gods, and I'm fairly sure that I want Is It Staticaster. Roast is a consideration, and Dispels are as well because of Chord and Collected Company. I think that Wormcoil is maybe not as good as Batterskull simply because they are running white, so they probably have some number of Path to Exile, and getting Wormcoil Path would be atrocious. It's possible that Cryptic might be a little slow and clunky. I still think Blood Moon is good, but I don't know that we want that. I don't know that we want all 4 of them. I'm going to keep the spell snares. I want the dispels. I kind of want to cut Cryptic Command. And the reason is I think it's a little clunky for what we're trying to do, and I can probably, since we're on the play, maybe I also want to trim maybe I want to trim a couple of Mana Leaks and a Reman. Oh, I already brought in the other Roast. I don't know that this is right, and this is, again, just my inexperience with the deck. I think Spellsnare has some good targets. So let's see. I think I'll run this. I think I'll keep the Remand. Yeah, let's give this a shot. So the other reason to cut the Cryptics is we're kind of trying to move a little bit, a lot of their stuff is cheap and they have acceleration, and so we're moving a little bit more into a board control deck. So Electrolyze I think can be really good in this matchup. This hand's a bit slow, but I think maybe we can find something with our Serum Visions. Okay, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and get an island and fetch. Okay, we 100% want this Anger of the Gods, and I also think that we want the Dispel. So I'm going to want to draw both of these. I want to draw the Dispel first, I think. Okay, Kitchen Finks is fine. I'm gonna play this. Actually, no. I can play Island. That'll let me have access to Spell Snare as well as Dispel if I need either one of those. Next, we're going to draw the Anger of the Gods. Then we can play Misty Rainforest. I'm not really interested. I don't think I need to play that Anger of the Gods on curve. So it's one of those things where we would like him to commit as much as to the board as we think we can get away with. And taking 3 here just isn't really that big of a deal. Yeah, so this Anger's going to be a good one. Taking 6 next turn, it's not great, but technically 7 if you count the fact that we're going to fetch here. But we will actually be able to Anger of the Gods as well as hold up a Dispel. This isn't killed by Anger, so I will Spell Snare it. So we're going to go to 6, and then we're going to fetch ourselves down, or we're going to go to 10, and then we're going to fetch down to 9, and then we're going to shock down to 7. So that could be a little bit too liberal use of our life total, but Viscera Seer, he's going to get to scry a lot, which is unfortunate. He's basically going to get to scry like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. There's nothing we can do about it, though. So that happens. So we're just going to F6 because he's probably going to just sack everything, scry until he finds what he wants. Opponent is down to 2 cards in hand. And we have an... Oh, that was odd. He just... That was a strange play from our opponent because I really think that he could have just... You know, he could have sacked Kitchen Finks, gained 2 life, sacked Kitchen Finks, gained 2 life, sacked Kitchen Finks again, sacked Kitchen Finks again, sacked Bird of Paradise, and just gotten a lot of extra value out of his board state. Another Kitchen Finks, perhaps? Sure. That is better than a... Actually, Collected Company would have been sweet if he had another land. We could have just dispelled it. But, I mean, we have a pretty clean answer. So what we can actually do is... I like letting him attack with Kitchen Finks, bolting it, and if it doesn't look like he's going to Collected Company, then we can also electrolyze it. Because one way that he can potentially pull back into this game is, you know, Collected Company. So I want to keep our answer to that. The other thing here is if he plays something like a bird or a hierarch, then we can bolt Finks and then electrolyze the rest of the Finks and the 1-mana creature. So we don't want to. I don't want to take this 3, so I am going to bolt. Okay, so he just has all of the Kitchen Finks. So what I'm kind of actually tempted to do is electrolyze 1 Kitchen Finks, and if we draw a land, then we can snap electrolyze both of them. I think that's got to be the most efficient way here. And we're going to get 2 land drops. Okay, so that happens, which is great. So let's see. if we do it now, we play around Chord, but then we can't dispel if he goes like Land Collected Company. But I think I'm fine with that because I don't really want to take the damage. And I still think we have enough cards in hand to kind of dig ourselves out of a Collected Company situation. The other thing is, if we do it this way, if he has a, like, we basically, if he has a Collected Company, if he goes Land Collected Company, then we're gonna have to take 4, and it's difficult for us to play around that anyway, because we got to play the island. So now we can go Pia and Kieran, and because the main thing we just, if he deploys single creatures, we don't have to necessarily be worried about that. I'm going to play this so I can Burst Lightning or Dispel. Basically what I was saying is, if he has a Chord or Collected Company in hand, then we can't Snapcast. We were going to have to take 4 and go down to 3 in order to play around either of those, like assuming he played a land, because we couldn't Snap and Electrolyze and hold up Dispel. So by just Snap Electrolyzing, we eliminate one of those cards as a possibility. So yeah. So I think we're just in pretty good shape here. Okay, so our opponent kind of had enough of that. Clearly that was a bit of a beating. And I think much better than the last time that I played against Collected Company. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed that match. By the time you guys see this, you will have watched Blue Moon. You will have then probably watched, I think I played Kiki or something like that, and then Geist. I don't remember what order everything's going to happen in, but as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Oh, and this is probably a good time to announce. I don't know if I mentioned that I applied, but I'm sort of working through the emails now to solidify a sponsorship with Card Hoarder, which is fantastic because that means that, by the No, I guess by the time it's all said and done, you'll see this first. But anyway, that means that I'll be able to play decks that I absolutely do not own. Now, it may take me a little while to build up the trust, because the way it works is when you first join, you're a little bit more limited in how much you can borrow. But we're going to get to a point where if you guys want to see me play something that I just don't own, I'll be able to do that. So the main thing I'm looking forward to doing is being able to get back to making some of the versus videos I used to make in the past. Some of you might remember that. And so I'm going to probably be working with Jason Clark, Real Evil Genius on Twitter, another Geist fan, and just a generally good and awesome Magic player, so that we can do specific matchups. So we can show you what Esper Control versus Eldrazi looks like as just an example. So look forward to that. Again, thanks for all the support. Like the video, subscribe to the page, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.